Quiet on the set. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm DearMYRTLE, your not so retired friend in genealogy. Welcome to Mondays with Myrt, where we talk about anything and everything that has come across our Genia desk in the last 2 weeks since last we met. We've got an interesting lineup of things to be discussing, but I want to see who's out there. Lots of comments from the community out there. Randy is here from Chula Vista. Um, Barbara at Project Kin is here. Chile getting up to 63. 63 feels really good up here. That's what it was in the mid 60s yesterday and the day before. We've been enjoying it. So hi, Dave. To get here on the panel, you need to be on the link that I shared in the Facebook private messaging group for Mondays with Myrt panelists, where you asked, and I said, please come join us anytime you can. We always want to hear what's happening at the Sons of the American Revolution, etc. Yes, and Sherry's out there. Remember, she's got that crescent wrench. She can actually ratchet down if you make too many comments too quickly. That's one of the things she can do. She can boot you out, so you better mind your manners out there. They're such rabble rousers. Frank's here. He's my co-host today. Randy is the guy that usually does our links and shares them, because I can't share a link and talk at the same time. Yeah. Hi, Valerie. He had that tornado warning. Lots of damage in his very neighborhood. Third bad storm in 3 weeks. That's just way too close for comfort. We had a 2.7 earthquake that neither Mr. Myrt nor old Myrt here herself felt yesterday. That was a mile away from our home and 12 miles underwater off of North Beach, 12 miles down. But people on the other side of the island did feel it. There's a mountain between us. Hi, Betty Lou. Good to see you. No internet. I want you to know I have bit the bullet, and I have decided to get Starlink and try it out. We've got to have better internet than we have. It's just so unreliable. I know all the political things, but I got to do it. I got to keep in touch with you guys, see what's going on. Gwen is out there. No homes damaged. I heard about the brush fire in Oceanside. This is not like what our ancestors went through. They did experience fires and earthquakes and tornadoes and terrible things, but their friends back east didn't hear about it until the letter came by Pony Express or whatever, and there was a big delay. Sometimes I wonder if instantaneous news is all that helpful. Although when it has something to do with a grandchild of mine submitting his thesis, or another one jumping his personal best on a high jump, I do want that information inmediatamente, por favor. All righty. Hi, John. Shaker Heights, 72 would be perfect. Kathleen's here. Thank you for being here. Hi, hello. So good to see you. Texas, so you got some help there, Sherry. Melinda's in the building out there on the YouTube side. Ottawa is being represented by Leslie. Let's see. Yeah. And then we have our some of our panelists have chimed in. It's all good. Why do I do this? There's the world's greatest neighbor, but we don't live in that neighborhood anymore. And it is nice. it is nice to be able to keep an instantaneous communication with some of our dear friends. And there's our Bobby. It's all good. All right. So the panelists are here. Let's pull them up. I'll help pull them up on the stage. And let's have y'all check in. The question of the week. Let's go ahead and dive in and take that. And then we'll turn to the Randy portion of Mondays with Myrt. The question of the week is, what software do you use when you need to compose a proof summary? Well, proof statement's the easy one. One item. Proof summary, that means more than one. Or proof argument, where you may be having to resolve conflicting evidence or deal with negative evidence. Yeah. What software do you use? Who wants to dive in first? Raise your hand. Let's go for it. Let's see. Randy, what do you do?
I use Steve Little's Genealogy Research Assistant now.
Aha. And explain what that is. It's AI, isn't it?
It's AI. You give it the facts you have, maybe the sources even, and it will evaluate it all for your question. So I've done it a couple times, and it worked well. It analyzes analyzes it according to the genealogical proof standard and your sources, and it decides what's the most. It will go all the way to proof, but it often will say you don't have proof yet.
You're not there yet. That's interesting because I haven't done that. So
No.
the Genealogy Assistant by Steve, and I have too many S's, but I can keep typing. We'll fix it. That's what you use. So not Roots Magic. Roots Magic is for your conclusions, is it not?
Well, you can tell it. You can tell it. If what kind of source it is, what kind of information it is, what kind of evidence it is. Doesn't mean you were right, and it will regurgitate that. But
okay. All right. If you could find the link for that, well, you'd have to show where it is. Yeah. And while you're doing that, who wants to dive in next? Miles, how about you? You've muted yourself, and then Bill.
Yeah. So again, I very similar to Randy. I use AI prompts to work on it, and run data through it, give it my research question and where I think it is, and it evaluates it fairly well and lets me know. It gives me suggestions on what needs to be added. If there is insufficient evidence, it'll let me know if I'm not using primary sources. It's called that out several times on death certificates.
So the information item can be primary or secondhand information, secondary. And the source itself can be an original document, a derivative of a document, or something that's undetermined. We don't know. For instance, I'm thinking of Cousin Dave out there on the YouTube side from Chicopee, Massachusetts, who tells us that, yeah, I'm looking at something written in the early 1800s that's a copy of the town records of some kind of vital records. I can't remember if it was marriages or burials. It was probably marriages. But it looked really old-timey. And the paper was worn and crackled and stuff like that. But it wasn't the original. It was a derivative. Yeah, it can be tricky. And you two really know your genealogy, your 4 to 6 generations. You know that pretty darn well because of the amount of hours you put in. And I'm amazed that you're both thinking, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just amazed at the difference this conversation is than it would be from like last summer when AI wasn't as trustworthy. Um, um, and I'm getting to be a little impatient with someone who's not willing to use it as a tool. Let me leave it at that. All right, who wants to go next? Bill?
Yeah, I haven't made the jump over to AI in that area yet.
Mhm.
Basically, I'm using Airtable to keep track of what I'm doing, and then writing up my reports in Word.
Okay, Microsoft
I'm going to have to
Word.
take a look at Steve's research assistant though, because that sounds very promising.
Yeah. So, one of the links that did you just share this link in the private chat, Randy?
I did.
Okay. So what he's showing us is, and I'll share it with you all, is Steve Little's presentation that he did for the Genealogy group clear back in February. And it was a really good presentation, but his handout, 21 pages long. Because it's a he doesn't give it to you till like the next day because it includes a transcript and an analysis summary, AI analysis of what was discussed in that session. And rightfully so, because we just took a class, Mr. Myrt and I, 10 weeks of visiting with him and with Steve and Mark. And what we discovered was that they would each be prepared to discuss certain things, and somebody else would like come up with a slightly different thought, and that meant that we would get off on a tangent, a very valuable tangent, but not one that had been planned on to be discussed in such detail. And you got to meet your students where their questions are. So to get those details in, that's why the handouts come. One of the reasons why handouts come after class. Also, another reason is that every other day something new happens in the world of AI that is useful to genealogists. We'll be talking about photos in that regard before too long. Let's see. Yeah, thank you for sharing that link. All right, back to canvassing. Ellen, when you have a research challenge, what do you use to write up your proof?
Well, previously, like Bill, I use OneNote, so I keep all my information there.
Mhm.
And I would ask ChatGPT to help me, but I'm interested in Steve's new thing. It's not new. I know I have it saved someplace, but it's like all those other things that you have saved someplace. You need to get back to them. So I'll
hear
be
you.
reading the
with
blog.
30 different tabs open on your browser.
Yeah, that's me. I used to have a blog called Too Many Tabs Tuesday.
Oh my gosh. That was it a self-help group that we could all join? Oh golly, I hear you.
It's like when I come here all the time, I always have a list of things I want to check out after I'm offline.
We make you do homework, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Frank, you're next. When I know that you are very busy working as an archivist.
Yeah, at the moment.
Yeah. And so when you can think back on the wonderful glory days of when you actually get to do research, And it doesn't have to be family history. It could be the research on house history or something like that, since I know you work with the buildings in your area. What do you do to compose the proof or the write-up, the narrative for what you've accomplished, what conclusions you've come to?
Actually, I do it a very kind of old way and do the quick and dirty work where I simply collect all my sources, all what it says, where it comes from, etc. in an Excel chart.
Okay.
And then the write-up in Word.
Okay. Let me
just
put this
to down lose myself in all the writings.
Yes.
And keep it focused.
And help keep it focused and in one place. Okay. Claire is here too. What do you use to compose a proof statement, proof summary, or proof argument about a specific research question?
Usually I've just used Word. I get all my stuff together and from one of my Ancestral Quest program, and I've never tried what Randy did. I would like to try that. I've never thought of using AI for it, but I haven't had to write one lately. But every time I've had to do one, this was before AI, because I did it a lot. I had to do it quite frequently when I was teaching at BYUI.
Yes.
And I just did it in Word.
Okay. It's interesting. Not one of you has really said that you've done it in your genealogy program, that this is stuff you do elsewhere while you're working on the problem. You're organizing it somehow. There are professional genealogists who are part of who have a lot of nominals after their name that are easily recognized, fellow of the National Genealogical or some other such society, who do not use a genealogy management program at all. Dr. Jones, Thomas W. Jones, uses InDesign, and there's a course where he teaches you how to use InDesign, which I think it's like a very hyped up Microsoft Word. It's more like Microsoft Publisher, actually, but I digress. Anyway, let's see what people are using out there. AI Jane. Now, who is AI Jane? That's Steve's robot, or AI is AI Jane. And when he writes something, it's either his name or AI Jane as the author, which reflects his interest in being ethical and letting you know what he wrote versus what AI wrote. Yeah, let's see. What is anybody else making something? Yeah, I'd like to hear what you're using. So, when a few years ago, when we had a study group on Dr. Jones's Mastering Genealogical Proof, where we had to come up with something in the way of a narrative to tell or give ourselves a report. There's one of the panelists the question was my ancestor the person known as so-and-so who was imprisoned at Andersonville, which was during the Civil War. It was in Georgia. And so she had to, what was pertinent to that question were things like his military unit. Was he anywhere near Georgia? or in the South? Or was he on the westward? It was his unit, and therefore he in the muster roll showing up in the westward front? Or was he in a hospital up north? Some guy by the same name? No, his unit was captured and his unit was taken to Andersonville and it was documented. Those are things that are pertinent to the question of, is that my John Doe versus the other John Does that were serving in the Union Army during the U.S. Civil War. But her write-up took pages and pages. It should take less than a page, maybe 2 pages, counting all your pertinent data, sources, the source listing. But that isn't how she did it. She explained everything she knew about the guy, who his parents were when he was born, all the places they lived, etc. Well, where he lived and mustered in was important. His initial time period. Yeah. And what I'm wanting to get us to is understanding that our proof is something that we, come to conclusions about in a place separate from our genealogy program where you fill in the blank. But when you figured out that he was this person and he was in this military unit and that he was imprisoned at Andersonville, that information that you've compiled in a narrative, like you're just explaining it to me in paragraph format, would be just concerning that portion of his military service, not the other battles he'd been in. The one where he became a prisoner, where he mustered in, what unit he was in. If he did change units, because it's like my guy in Gettysburg, Bill Moore, who on day 1, and your guy was in the same unit, not the same company, because your guy carried the flag and lost his hand. But they lost 80% of their people on day 1. They lost their commanding officer. So they are suddenly no longer in 19th Indiana Company C or D or K or whatever it was. Now they're in Company B because they had to reconfigure their units. That's how close Bill and I are related, with comrades at arms, brothers whose relationship was forged by the blood of their fallen brothers. And in Indiana, when they signed up, initially it was by county. So their families knew each other.
Oh yeah.
That's our connection. Let's see. Comments are. You can still star the comments, guys, even though I've changed this and popped this out. We talked about that briefly. Okay, description. Okay, let me get to the right thing here. Okay, Valerie says legacy software is what she uses a person's source notes, sometimes in Excel spreadsheet, copy to Microsoft Word, but definitely put back into legacy person notes on my surname genealogy research folder on her C drive. Yeah, so I have genealogy data, which is my main folder. Then I have individual surname folders for the first 3-4 generations. So that's a lot of names when you count the wife's maiden name. And that's where that Excel worksheet will be. And I do what you do. I work in Excel or Word. and I save it on my hard drive. But I also, if I am researching, I don't go on research trips anymore. I would I would upload it to my Google Drive so I could access it on the road. Because when you do research, you can have a challenge there. Because you think you're there on that soldier, but what you suddenly have in your lap available to you uniquely at this particular archive is something on your mother's side of the family, totally different side of the family. Okay. Let's see. Betty says, I wish Roots Magic had a section for general research notes so I don't have to go through all my people to find them. I wish it was every word searchable. Yeah, globally. Monique says, I write up proofs in Word. I use a research log to keep all my info. Then I link a PDF version of my proof to my legacy software program to the person involved. That's interesting. I have how do you feel about PDF files attached versus an image of each page so you can read it without having to click? What do you think, panelists? Have I okay, go ahead, Frank.
That depends on how big of a picture you have and how good it is in the PDF. The PDF has the advantage to normally not be able to be edited.
Right. It's just a generic, you can't view it. You have to click.
Yeah. But normally you can't change anything anymore after it is fixed and done.
Yeah, that's you unless you have Adobe Acrobat Pro and you can do a lot of stuff
Yeah.
to it. Yeah. I hear you. Valerie says, most definitely my source citations on either the Excel spreadsheet or Microsoft Word, or in some cases both. It was easy to send the proof argument to any of my client research reports. Interesting and good to hear all these things. Let's see. Monique is saying, Ellen, have you ever heard of the Chrome extension one tab? This is to solve your problem with 30 tabs. She loves it. You can save all your open tabs together and give the group a name. And then you can open one tab and it will open them again. Very cool. You're muted, dear. Monique, she's giving you copious responses. Her lips are moving. Unless
I pin all the ones I really like, but I don't know. I have all these tabs that I want to get back to.
It's hard. I hear you. I hear you. Okay, somebody starred this one. So McIrish, 1961, says, I am needing to separate two persons, same name, location, and use Clues software to get a handle on the records I have found. From there, I try to separate the two persons, but I haven't used Clues. Okay, now that's a very interesting old piece of software that has been very useful. I get the point of it. Anybody? I like the ability that several of you mentioned to make a copy of your narrative and paste it into notes for that particular event. Like for military service, you could have the date that he first signed up and the location. And then when you know that he's in certain battles, like I know my ancestor was in 2 major battles before Gettysburg, because by the time they were at Gettysburg, they were known as the Iron Brigade, along with Wisconsin and a couple of units from Wisconsin and one from another group, because they did not run. They stayed their ground, and they earned that. They didn't use Army issue hats. They bought their own. It's kind of like the Flying Tigers of World War II. They kind of did their thing, but they were known for their bravery. Yeah, let's see. All right. I'm okay. We did that one. Barbara says, yes, the Chrome that Chrome has made groups a standard part of user interface now. Frankly, couldn't live without it. And she is the queen of multitasking, if you ask me. That is for sure. Okay. And Gwen is saying the use of Chrome extension still an issue when it comes to data security issues. I cannot speak to that, dear. I don't know. That's why we always keep the most recent version of programs, including your antivirus software. And I honestly think that you must keep your antivirus software up, period. No question about it. Okay. All right. Well, what I want to do is switch gears and talk with Randy about a different kind of write-up that he does using AI. So let's have everybody go to the wings except for Randy. I'll pull up your post. And I was very intrigued to hear, of course, I've closed that tab. Let me go get it. Oh, give me the link to your, if you would please, to your post on the subject, and I can't believe I closed the tab with our docket on it. Thank you very much. All right. So we need to say that for years now, about 2 years, isn't it, that you have been doing these ancestor bios, the ABC process?
It's been 1 year.
Oh, one. Okay.
I started a year ago, early April.
Okay.
And so it's grown naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And so I updated the blog post a couple of weeks ago after I did the presentation for the Santa Cruz Genealogical Society,
Mm-hmm.
which is available online, and the handout's available online also.
Okay.
So
I've zoomed in on your post, and talk to me about it.
Well, a year ago, I came up with this bright idea. I can use AI to take my genealogical sketch. I have over 500 sketches of ancestors, and I'm doing one a week now. And I can take that sketch, which is basically a summary of all the information I have, all the evidence. It doesn't have proof statements in it. It's assumption, it's conclusions, basically. It is sourced. And so I can use that to have AI, and I use Claude because everybody agreed at the time it was the best writer, and it still is, I think, to write a biography. And so I've written 90 or so biographies at this point in time since then. And it's kind of grown. Then it was only the biography, and then it was a poem and a song. And now it's expanded to use Notebook LM to create an infographic and an audio overview like a podcast, and a video overview that you can put on YouTube or wherever, and a slide deck, and a number of other things. Okay, the slide deck you can put into Google Slides and it will create for you a narrated video that you can put on YouTube. And so that's kind of my process here. You can take the audio one or the song and put it into Canva and have it make a video of, you could put photos up or a summary of a life or whatever, and listen to the podcast or the song. And so I've added all that to this revised blog post called the ABC process, ancestor biography creation. And
one of the things I appreciate especially about the work that you do is you give us step 1, the research notes from Roots Magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you tell us step by step the process you went through, as opposed to, okay, it is called Randy Seaver's ABC process, but you tell us step by step what to do. So if you wanted to do this, Ellen, we can trust our other friend in genealogy, Randy, because of how he composes his blog posts. Go ahead, Randy.
So the blog post has that summary image that you just passed over.
Yeah.
That explains it.
Yeah.
And then it goes into much detail about what I use to generate these things, and what I do with it. So now I now have over 300 videos on YouTube on my channel, doing 8 or 10 a week now, it seems. One of the things that I haven't talked about in this so far is, once you have the biography, and we know that AI does social history really well. It knows everything about occupations and life and events and things like that for a place and a time.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I write historical fiction. Claude, give me a memoir that Isaac Seaver might tell to his grandchildren in 1901, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a discussion between Isaac and his wife after he returns from the Civil War.
Oh boy, that would be a discussion to imagine. Yeah.
Well, and it's historical fiction, so some people say, well, that isn't real. And that's right, it isn't real, but it might have been that way. And because most of our ancestors were normal people that just tried to live their lives and get along and do well, and depended on a community to help them.
Mm-hmm. Because
not everybody could grow wheat, and not everybody could have pigs and whatever. And now what I'm doing is I'm going through for some of them and saying, tell me what the life was like when Isaac Seaver was 50 years old in 1873. What was his family? What work were they doing, each of them? What was their education? What was their entertainment or recreation? And so it tells me. It may not be right. I can edit it. I edit everything that comes out. So that's part of it. So what I'm doing is building a list of stories, and I have it on one of my pages on my blog. A list of stories for every ancestor I have back at least through the third great grands. So 5 generations. So yeah.
So this occurs to me when we were when our children were little. Little House on the Prairie was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a fictitious, based on narratives that Laura Ingalls Wilder had written. So we kind of had an understanding of what life on the prairies of the Western forefront were like in the 1800s, early 1900s. And the excitement of when the train finally came in, instead of commodities coming in to the general store. And that was our AI of the time, to try to get us to understand life, regular people like you're talking about. This is no different, except that, like Laura Ingalls was writing these books based loosely on her experiences in, wasn't it Minnesota? I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. This is what AI is doing based on the research that Randy has fed into it. Comparing
the social history, plus the
plus-
social history
yeah,
that it knows
yes,
from the pre-training.
yes, it already has read the historical context books.
Having
And
a library in your computer.
exactly. But you didn't have to read it. You're trusting AI to read it for you.
Mhm.
Okay.
And you can check it out. You
Yep,
know?
exactly.
I often do that. When AI says something, I will go and try to find the manufacturing company that Isaac Seaver worked for in 1873. And I think I found it just recently. And so it's amazing. So the whole point here is we don't have stories. We have only facts. We have only information that we have on records for the people we didn't know. We don't have memories of them. There may be stories passed down. Oh, old Uncle Isaac went off here, you know.
Mhm.
But we don't know what they did. We don't know how they did it. We don't know what their life was like. How did they eat? How did they, you know, what were the sleeping arrangements? Things like that. It's all there. You can ask AI to give you that, and you make a judgment if it's right or not. You
Mhm.
label it historical fiction because it is, because
Mhm.
it may not have been exactly that way. But now you have stories that you can tell or provide to your descendants or cousins or brothers or whatever to help them understand how they got here. How did we get to this point in our lives? My grandchildren are interested in my life. They know nothing about their great grandparents, but their great grandparents, who generally lived 1880 till 1980 or something like that.
Mhm.
They had interesting lives, and they lived through exciting times. And so
Lot
this
of changes.
is a way to touch them. The way, since AI is so smart, it knows how to tell stories. It finds the hook. Okay, it finds. I ask. It's part of my process now. After I've done the biography, I ask it, tell me 10 turning points in this person's life, and give me a paragraph that might lead to a story for each one of them.
Here's part of what you asked it.
Yeah.
You know, please create an engaging biography from the attached files, including parents, siblings, spouses. Summarize life events. Add historical events as appropriate, but do not add or embellish any extra genealogical details. Use section headings. Expand information in each section to add more details. The tone should be casual and suitable for family members. That's the direction. And we don't lose these things. Robin Stewart is in the building. Thank you for joining us this morning. This is important work that you are doing, Randy. Your fellow panelist here, Frank, is saying Claude is awesome for writing. You can even personally put items into the memory so it is more unlikely to start hallucinating. And I think, Randy, you're doing that by giving the PDF document for consideration.
Mhm.
You're asking here's the raw facts. Here's just the facts. Pretty it up. I'm going to be sharing this with my grandchildren. I don't know about you, but I had a grandchild ask me if I used to go to church in a horse and buggy when I was their age. And they were asking this at about 5 or 6 years of age, because that's what they thought the olden days were. No, we went in I can't remember what year, Cadillac. My dad had a Cadillac with the big fins in the back. And we could fit 5 kids in the back seat because we didn't have seatbelt requirements then. And it was a really big car. Yeah, they have no concept of what our childhoods were like. Yeah.
And then they get a DNA test and it says they're 10% Norwegian and 20% German or whatever. And they say, how did that happen? Okay, now here's the in. Okay, my wife has German, Irish, Norwegian. Okay, my grandsons have Italian and Danish in their ancestry. And consequently, I'm able to tell those stories because I've written the genealogical sketch, I've written the biography, and I'm in the process of writing the memoir and what's life like stories and things like that. And those all can be just short books, probably 60, 80 pages in a PDF that can be passed on to the right people.
I want to draw your attention, folks, to this part 4, where after he's got the biography and they're going to add the social history. You heard Randy say these should be labeled as historical fiction if the stories are not based on factual information with the source. Yeah, so there's the family stories that we can be preserving. Talk to me more about, well, this is exactly what I wanted to talk about. Typical family stories. There are some things that have been handed down, like how my mother was, as a 2-year-old, if you couldn't find her in the house, she'd be out in the back porch licking the butter from the butter churn. She would stick her finger in and, lick her fingers. That was her thing. And it always made Mother blush. And she always insisted we buy butter, not margarine. So there was never any question of, is this butter? So, yeah. Imagining advice before marriage, the information that was given to a bride in preparation for her wedding night was very different in the 21st century compared to what it was in the 19th century. I can only imagine, because those were the dark ages where we didn't talk about things, right?
We talked about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you could have a multi-chapter story.
I have 3 multi-chapter stories going on. My own memories, my parents' meeting, romance, and I'm up to having the baby now, me. Yesterday's story is my first month of life. And then I'm doing my maternal grandparents' love story too. So because I don't know exactly what happened, but I know that they met at a dance in 1916. I know that he went in the Marine Reserves in 1917, and they got married in June 1918 while he was still in the reserves and serving. And had my mother in July of 1919. So I do those in 1 or 2 or 3 month segments, 30 throwing in San Diego things because it's all in San Diego. And so I have to go back and ask AI to tell me about San Diego movie theaters. Where were they? What were the movies that were shown in 1918? That type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it knows, maybe not 1918, but for my folks, 1942.
Yeah.
So,
that's the thing. Was it 10 cents to go to the movies in those days? It's now we do so much live streaming into our homes. I think we did go to see the Barbie movie. I dragged Mr. Myrt to see the Barbie movie in person when it came out because I was so curious about it. He's a good sport.
He was intrigued and excited.
Yeah, he was thrilled. But he's a good sport, and I'm a good sport doing things he likes to do. So it's give and take. Interesting. We can do so much more now with our time using AI. Thank you, Monique.
But you can make more mistakes quicker.
Oh,
you got to be careful. You got to be careful. That's where judgment and experience comes in. That
wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Valerie's responding to my comment about what children think we did. Her son asked her when he was in kindergarten if there was indoor plumbing when she was little, or did she have to use an outhouse? Yes. And hubby's grandparents' home did have water in the kitchen, but also had an outhouse. And that faucet, remember how our sinks used to have two faucets, not just two controls, not one control in the middle that you turned a certain way to make it hotter or colder? Yeah. I would never use an outhouse. Ick. Needless to say, I did not do well at camping. I was just going to say you would have never survived Girl Scout camp or Campfire Girls camp. I know. Miles is saying my great grandparents had an outhouse. My grandparents had an outside pump to get water. Yeah. And I think the next step was to have the pump inside at the kitchen sink, and the drain went out into the kitchen, out into the kitchen garden where you'd have herbs and things, which sounds very interesting, but yeah, what a mess. We used to have an outhouse at my grandparents' when I was little, says Monique, because they didn't have running water for a long time. Yeah, boy, would that have been cold in Montana in the winter. Ellen is sharing growing up at the lake on weekends, so I can know very well about outhouses and coal burning stoves and oil lamps. Now, my kids can relate to oil lamps because when we lived on Long Island and there was a very severe storm, it knocked out power. And I'm always prepared. That's why we have a whole house generator now, modern 21st century style backup. But I had oil lamps. All I had to do was trim the wick every night, in the twilight or in the late afternoon, not at night. Let's see what other things people are saying. Interesting. I'm with you. More of a glamper, need my bathroom and shower. I didn't go camping much, just in Grandma's basement in the city during thunderstorms. Now, was your grandmother's basement bare soil, hard packed soil? You'd go down the steps and there would be the shelves in the main room that had a dirt floor. And then there were two rooms where you stepped up because they had put down like a boardwalk, kind of a flooring, into Grandpa's room where he had all kinds of his secret things. And Dad kept he had one of those airplanes that it wasn't remote control. They had fishing line running to each of the wings, little gas powered thing. So, and then the other place, the other room had two little beds in it. And then there was the coal bin. Oh my gosh. John said he grew up in small town southern Illinois in the 50s and 60s. They had two movie theaters. One, the good one, cost $1. The other one cost 10 cents. My grandmother told me she met my mom's dad at a dance hall in Detroit. I looked up the history of that hall, and I don't think the timing is correct, but I need to check the other halls at the time. I mean, it could have been at the YMCA or a church hall. Yeah. Grandma's basement had a black checkerboard floor put down by the uncle. Those were monsters. There were monsters in the coal bin. It wasn't just at my grandma's house. Now it's a swamp cooler. Oh yeah, from the German Democratic Republic. Kept a collection of that. All right. Anything else before we move on? I think that they're getting the point of what you're doing. And Ellen, you're going to need to bookmark this, this page, so that you can follow step by step. It's capable of doing all those things, of making a podcast for you, where it takes the synopsis and has two people talking back and forth based on the synopsis of what AI created. She's already on the homework list. Valerie says, there are reasons why I'm writing my mom's history, because when I'm gone, the things she told me or that she wrote down will be lost. And I'm also writing about my life. Good for you. Very good. Okay. Let's switch gears. Thank you, Randy, for being here and telling us more about how you've streamlined your ancestor biography creation process. That it's been, a couple of million posts in comments back farther up. I'd have to scroll back. They're saying they want to be able to do half as much as you do in a day. And it's okay. You guys don't have to do every single one of the options. If you just had to create a biography with the historical context, that's phenomenal. That is phenomenal. And as we are more of a global community, Randy's aware of San Diego history because he lives in San Diego and his ancestors have been there for several generations. You learned that in school. And
exploring, yeah.
And then because of exploring, you're learning more details, like what theaters were there, because you inquired and are having it applied to this history, the historical context. So it isn't just summarizing. I mean, AI can summarize what he has in that PDF file and pretty it up and make it look interesting, but it's really interesting with the historical context. But as we become more global and recognizing we have cousins in Ireland and Denmark or Norway or Sweden or wherever, where there are cultural variables, some of which may have come down through the family. Like we're pretty good at making, we can make crepes the way they are done in Norway because that's come down through Mr. Myrt's side of the family. But I'm no good at doing the appelskivers. I could never get the little ball to turn around in the pan. Yeah. And I'm sure they ate more than crepes and appelskivers. Probably don't want to know everything.
I really think that there will be an app at some point in time, not unlike the Steve Little's apps, that will do all that in a day. I can do all that for one person giving a biography. I can do it by copy pasting and things like that in less than a day. All that, from biography to slideshow.
Okay, so that's good that you
take time. It takes time, and not everybody has the 8 hours I have to do something that I want to do.
Yeah.
That's my situation, and at 82, I'm aware my hourglass is not full, and consequently, we don't know what's going to happen.
No, we don't know. And preserving the stories, you always say that you're not a writer, but you're gifted with AI and have figured out how to get AI to do the to pretty it up for you.
Yeah. Well, it's a ghostwriter, basically.
Yes.
If I was a famous person, Donald Trump doesn't write his books, Bill Gates doesn't write his books. Someone writes them for him. Okay. And consequently, that they're prettying it up, that they're getting information and then making it readable.
I get this. And these are important discussions to be having. All right. Ellen, do you want to try one aspect of this? But let's pull everybody back up. Is this scary to do this? Could you do just one component of it? I know you don't have 8 hours every day.
Oh, but I do.
Oh, you do, now that you're home again and snowed in half the time again.
Yeah. No. I tried Randy's ABC last year, and I did that. I'm going to try his updated version and see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to do it all in one day. You could do each segment.
I love AI for the most part. I still think we need HI, human intelligence.
Yes, some of us are better at that than others. And while we still have the brain power, let's do it. All right. So, Claire, I'm ready to talk with you. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
All right. You disappeared into that sofa in the background. It's very cushy. So I want to talk with you next. So let's, Frank, if you would have everyone go to the wings. And I'm going to pull up agesgenealogy.org. And let me share my screen. And we're going to talk about that. Okay?
Yep.
You called me the other day and we had a pretty good discussion. And it is surprising that genealogy is not like a required humanities or history in the area of history or the humanities, social history, that genealogy isn't like a requirement for graduation, just even one course. Talk to me about all this, and I'll start sharing my screen in a second.
Well, my dissertation that I did on was to bring in the fact that doing genealogy does help individuals to learn lots of things besides their own social emotional needs, which are how they value themselves and how they operate in the world. And there's a lot of distrust and anxieties and things that kids are dealing with today, and even more so than normal. And genealogy can really help, and that's what I proved in my dissertation, the ability for them to use that and find out, well, if my grandfather did this, I can do that. And I mean, out of the 29 people, every single one of my students were able to change their trajectory in their what they were doing and improve their own lives. In fact, some of them took some of the forms that I had developed for the actual dissertation, and we're going to use that as they try to gather facts for their own family and take on family history itself, which they had never done. They didn't know they could interview people. They didn't know they could do any of that. And that was a whole new avenue for them. And so bringing it into the college sphere has been a goal of many academics. And so AGES was created to do that. And so that is where this is coming in. And I was able to just recently give them a presentation on my dissertation for part of their conference.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's this. It's really a great tool. It's a great resource. And these are people that are part of it. It's been around about maybe 7 or 8 years. It's not that old.
Well, I'm aware that because of knowing Drew Smith, a librarian, retired now from University of South Florida, that the ALA, American Library Association, has tried to get family history as a topic for reference librarians to, if you're going to become a librarian, to have a course in family history and what the typical patron might need in the way of information to climb their family tree. And of course, that's like such a general statement because we've got people all different. You don't know who's approaching the reference desk, and their backgrounds are completely different. And so I don't know why it isn't automatically part of it, because part of any type of education in elementary school, they do it, but they're being more careful now with children. Instead of giving them a family tree that is your parents, your grandparents, etc., sometimes they are in foster care, or they only know their mother's side, like I knew. You didn't dare speak about our father, or my grandmother Myrtle, his mom, or there was hell to pay, literally. So they use it as a tool in elementary school for intergenerational communication, for writing in their diary what they've learned. My grandkids used to have almost to a child, to each one. Remember those old composition books?
Yep.
That were black and white, and then it had lined pages inside, and they were to write in it every day something. And among the things they could write in it were interviews they'd had, like with me or with Pop-Up. That's what they called Gordon, Mr. Myrt. Experiences they'd had, or things that they learned. And by 6th grade or something like that, historical context came in. Like in Utah, I had grandchildren in Utah, and if you had a pioneer ancestor, and I'm sure this is like this in other states, who was that pioneer? And so one of my grandchildren saw a picture that I provided. It was from Pioneers and Prominent Men of Utah, where the guy had a beard. And so my grandson took cotton balls and glued them to his face, and that was his white beard. And so something then happens. You don't do that in middle school, and yet in middle school and high school is when they're learning research techniques and how to correlate information and how to find original documents in any category. In family histories, one category. There are outreach programs, but from like the National Archives or the Library of Congress, with teaching curriculum provided for various age groups using records from those facilities. But what do you think is holding back?
I think that a lot of the academics think of genealogy, quote unquote, as a hobby, and yet it's not anymore. I mean, it's been brought out into the stratosphere, so to speak, of everyday life for a lot of people, and so it's no longer just that. Some of the studies that I did, you were talking about, when you do your dissertation. One of them was a German group that did a dissertation where They said that before we take this test, I'd like to see you think about your grandparents, and if they were standing right there, and then actually for 5 minutes, just think about that, and there to help you, there to support you, and it was the increase in their grades was immense. And another journal article that I had read was where they actually did a whole course of a mixture, in college level, and there were students that were adopted, and many of them were able to use that as a way of overcoming barriers and problems that they had throughout their life. And so the resources are out there to show that this does do that. It takes them to a different level that they're able to cope better.
Mm-hmm. I do recognize that historians, academic historians, look down on genealogy.
Yep.
Because in the olden days, documentation and proof statements and proof arguments and proof summaries there was no genealogical proof standard. In fact, there were charlatans who would connect you to royalty, etc., for a fee. They had, heraldry companies. I mean, not the heraldry companies, organizations, the legitimate ones in England or Scotland with the tartans, etc. There are companies that say, this is your family crest, and they would sell it to you in an 8x10 framed something or other. My dad has one for his surname, and the surname player could mean anything, and so it's things like that that sully, muddy the waters.
It definitely did muddy the waters, because all they did was just take all the names from the telephone books at that time. Of course, this is back in the 1990s. And I mean, I have one for my Brissons, and we have one for Banks. And of course, we didn't know at that time. We were just newly married, and we weren't aware of the fact that those things really weren't it. But they do dirty the waters, and they do make it look like it's not really a great thing, and yet it really is. It does, because as it is, I mean, most cities now will have a police department that will use DNA just to help out with crimes. Mm-hmm. Most genealogical, I mean, there's a lot of companies out there now where there used to not be. Mm-hmm. And so it's not like it used to be, but there's still these people that are in academics that think of it, quote unquote, as they did in prior years.
Yeah, I think it is very frustrating. Let me see. Miles says, I know we did a family tree in 3rd grade. I still have the old mimeograph form with my original tree on it. That's very cool. And Gwen is saying, fighting an old fraudulent genealogy on my Riddell line keeps popping up. I believe there's a whole WikiTree project page for fraudulent genealogies. There's also one in Family Search Wiki. And I don't think we could possibly make it 100% comprehensive. And you could argue that the one trees where people can go in and adapt and change have muddied the waters, because of course my compiled family history is 100% perfect, Claire. You know that. My kids believe that, because they're saying, you're Dear Myrtle, and of course I'm their mother, and they know I'm not perfect. But there's, as try as I might, I am an imperfect researcher.
That's right.
But I'm looking through the glass darkly. I can only see this much of the elephant, and my conclusions, my current thinking is based on that part of the elephant that I can see. Valerie's responding, saying, name books from a place. Was it Bailey? Ohio in the 90s. Bad rap for genealogists being name collectors. Name collectors and quick click genealogists who see what we referred to as a shaky leaf or a
Yeah.
hint, and it's got the same name, and we think it's got to be, okay, he's about 25 years older, it's got to be the parents because it's the same location. Could be an uncle. We don't know till you figure out all the people by that surname in that area. And as Tom Jones says, for 150 years. Yeah. This is true. There's an impact that television has had. And online podcasts that create a feeling that it's cool to learn about your family history. I mean, people are jealous that it's only movie stars and Broadway stars that get to have their research done. Boy, I wish I'd see my lineage back rolled out on a big long table. Yeah, but that does show more of the realistic. I mean, you don't solve a research conundrum that takes you back 7 to 10 generations in 1 hour.
No.
But they get an idea that an archivist has records, old-timey records. Yeah.
Right. And I think that the ability to, for the individual, I mean, a beginning course would really make a difference for these children, no matter whatever grade they're in. But I had handled it from just college level, and it really would definitely take a lot of the pressure off that these kids are going through today with everything, because it will give them a lot more of the resources that they need. And it's just a beginning course. It's not something that's going in depth. And most of the ones that I did, that's what we were. But the thing is, it shows the potential, and they're not even bridging the potential at all, other than the schools that we know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Randy gives advice here. Don't believe anything written by J. Montgomery Seaver. Okay, we'll keep that in mind. Man, years ago, someone put out a book about the Hayek family, but it was kind of like all Hayek names. But she put families together and then listed those who did not know how they fit in as such. Yeah, I think we've all seen those kind of books. Yeah. So do we have to call you Dr. Claire now? Can I call you Dr. Claire?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
May I call you Dr. Claire from now on?
You can just call me Claire. It's okay.
Yeah. No, you're
but still, I still think that there's just such a need, and we've had a lot of there's a lot of stuff out there. I just don't know how much longer it's going to take. I just hope that it doesn't take forever and it becomes a reality.
It seems like it does. It seems like it does take forever. Well, I think the best thing is that as individuals, if we strive to do our best thinking, cite our sources, tell it like it is, clearly label when we've used AI to bring in the social history or to summarize something. Yeah, those are good principles to follow. Just follow the genealogical proof standard.
Yeah.
People learn by example. They don't learn it so much. Some people are book learners, but you can't read. Excuse me. You can't read books fast enough nowadays to keep up with all the things that could apply to, for instance, the social history, the life and times part of an ancestor's experience. Very interesting. So this organization, you had me share, I shared the screen earlier. They have an annual conference?
Yes, we just had our annual conference, and it's only $50 a year to join. And they just released the actual things. It's just a whole year. The conference lasts for one full day, and it's all done by Zoom, and it's recorded. So it was really good.
Okay, here's the recordings and the handouts. Members only. How much does it cost to join this organization?
$50.
So if you, so you would have all these years of programs where the topics are such, and man, when you look at who's in this, most of these people I know to be very competent leaders and scholars in the world of genealogy.
Right.
This looks like it was at the library at BYU, maybe?
It says Salt Lake Public Library.
Oh, Salt Lake Public. Okay. All
But
right.
they just had a gathering at Roots Check,
Mhm.
and they were almost all of them were there.
Mhm. Well, excellent. Thank you for bringing this up. Anytime, oh, see, I took notes on the types of programs people are using to compile their work. I actually was taking notes. Don't need to save it, but I think we get our point. All right. Well,
thanks for let me share that with people.
Well, I enjoyed visiting with you. Thank you. I appreciate you, Dr. Claire. I love it. All right. So how's our time? I need help. Did we lose my timer?
9 minutes.
My battery's dead on my wall clock there. So I have no idea what my
9 minutes.
Oh, there it is. My water bottle was obscuring that part of my computer screen. Okay, what else have we got to talk about for a few more minutes? There's a lot that happened.
Daniel.
I know. I'm trying really hard to get Daniel here. He did a really good job. This is public.
Welcome back. Today, the 1926 census
I
has
don't
been
think you
released
can
to
hear
the public
it,
in this
but
and
yeah,
insight
you-
into the lives
Here,
of
you
people
can't
living
see
in
it.
Ireland 100 years.
And here to tell us more about why this is so important is genealogist Daniel Loftus. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
I can't
The
hear.
first time in 100 years,
Anyway,
we'll see what
Daniel
snapshot of Ireland.
Loftus, one of our panelists, made, and he comes to visit us periodically, but he's busy working and going to school, and he was called upon to talk about the advent of the 1926
Welcome back. Today, the
census.
1926
One of the
census
reasons
has
why
been
I'd like
released to
him
the
to
public,
be
giving us an
here
insight into the
when
lives
we
of
go
people living
look
in
at
Ireland
the
100
images.
years.
And here to tell us more about why this is so important
He's had
is
more experience
genealogist
looking
Daniel
at
Loftus.
them.
Daniel, thank you so
I
much for
thought that
joining us
this
on the show this
interview,
morning.
I've seen several
The
interviews.
first time in 100
He
years,
handles himself
we'll
so
see
well. I would
the
be
snapshot
shaking
of
in my
Ireland
boots to
100
be on
years ago.
national
But
TV. I'm
tell us
not
why a
Krista
census
Gowan
is actually so
by
important.
any means.
So a census is so important because it
And
gives us such an
he
insight into
fielded their
Ireland at the
questions.
time in each
He
family.
talked with
We
the
get an
public.
idea
These
of
are things
their
that
age, their
plant
occupation.
the
It's a snapshot
seeds
of
for
life
we need
after
to
a
find
time
out
of
more
conflict
about
and a
family
time of
history when
unrest.
people
So to
like
see
Daniel are
something
there on
capture
national
that
television
in one day,
Ireland.
it's one day of many years, and it just
to
gives us
talk
an idea as
about
to what
a
society
record
was like
set
at the time
and
with
its debut.
occupations and everything else.
He
Right,
could compare and contrast with
this one's been
previous
locked away for
census
100
years.
years.
Yes.
Off
Whereas
the
some
top
of the
of his
other,
head,
and
he
it's what
knows
is it,
his
60 years
subject
since the
well.
last one?
So
was-
we'll see if
Yes,
we
about
can
64,
get him to
65
come
years since
join
the
us.
last one.
In the
Why did they
meantime,
decide to lock this one away?
if you would share
this
that
amount of
link,
time?
perhaps
So
you
it's due
have
to the
already,
Statistics Act
Randy. I
that
don't know.
stipulates that it has to
Oh,
be
you can hear both of us
concealed away for
speaking.
100 years.
Okay. Sorry, that was hard. I apologize. But you could see, he did a great job. So thank you for sharing the link. Next time when we meet, I want to take this discussion about composing our write-ups concerning the answers we uncover with a research question in mind. And everybody's up on the panel, so let me get the layout that brings us up here. And as such, we're going to look at Elizabeth Schoen Mill's quick lesson number 20. And let me pull it up. if you'd share that link. And then the other thing I want to pull up is something that came up just this week in the world of regarding photos and AI. And I hear again and again from people how here's the picture of my ancestor, and I used AI to make it clearer, until we look at it and see that AI isn't actually making it clearer. They are totally reimagining. And this is an article published in the Myrt, and it's reporting on how they have a photo contest every year. And what is real photography? Okay, we'll start our trial. Oh no, I can't.
We can't see your screen.
Well, it's a good thing because I can't get there from here.
Okay.
So the bottom line, let me quote it though. And this came to my attention just yesterday from Steve Little, that professional photographers who are competing, the world of professional genealogy or of professional photography is recognizing that a photograph is how light is captured on a sensor or film, sensor being like your digital camera. They want to not have AI generated images or fillers or AI upscalers. And that cannot be used in this big international photo competition that happens annually. And it speaks to the authenticity of it. You have seen where you can add a person or have a person subtracted from a photo, or remember when people used to have things created and the person would have 3 hands instead of 2. Or I think it was Miles, you had an example, did you not, where they added an extra child when the mother was removed from a photo?
Child, there was a video that as the father moved out of the way, a child appeared in the background behind him. Yeah.
It's getting so that I don't know what to believe when I see videos of events, like unless it's from a reputable news outlet that I know of, because it can make the situation look worse than it was. And I thought it was pretty intriguing that the photographers, the professional photographers that do journaling, that report on things, that their work is being critiqued as inappropriate if they use AI to enhance it, even to change the filter digitally, as opposed to a filter that you can put on the lens itself, like to make it look starrier or to focus on this part and not that part of it just needs to be, I was going to say the raw picture, but that's an actual term in photography, like JPEG and PNG and TIFF. My digital camera takes raw photos. The file format is .raw. Keep that in mind. Please don't say that AI updated or colorized. Please note that it has been done, but that's not your ancestor anymore, because the experience for your ancestor was to sit there in the photography studio, not animated, and you had to hold that smile for like 2 minutes of the exposure of light to the glass panel or the film or whatever it was, depending on the type of camera. That experience, was recorded in black and white or sepia tones, and that's what it was. Even in the 50s, my mother had portraits of us taken little kids as we were, we had the rosiest cheek because the photography studio actually painted rosy cheeks on our skin. Not true. It was the artificiality of its time. Boy, I'm being too opinionated today. Okay, let me pull up the Elizabeth Shown Mills link. Let me get it. If you want to prepare for when we meet in 2 weeks, let me get her post. I can't find it here. There it is. Quick lesson 20, research reports for research success. And this is the whole link. I'll pull it up so you'll have brand recognition. And Randy will share the link. It has to do, I want the report and the process. I want to tear apart or deconstruct this post of Elizabeth's, where we talk about when are we ready for data entry into our genealogy programs? How are we reporting things analytically? What do we do to aggregate background data, etc.? Am I sharing my screen? No, of course not. Anyway, this is what her graphic looks like, so you'll recognize it. And you've shared the link. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, so we could give out the updated 2026 guidelines using AI. This has to do with that ethics of using AI. That's another organization. And we could have Steve, we could invite Steve to come and talk to us, or Mark, either one. All right, I've got homework now. Thank you, Valerie. It's what makes us better because we work on these things together. So I want to talk to Steve or Mark about the 2026 guidelines and then we have to do the Ireland census in more detail. One advantage to not talking to Daniel until 2 weeks from now is he'll have had that much more experience actually looking at images, and so you can have a more complete overview of his experience. He has more context to share with us. Let's put it that way. Anything else before we go? I think it was a interesting day today.
I have lots of homework.
Say that with a smile, girl. It's all good. All good. All right. Thank you so much. Well, I don't know about you, but I am happy that we got to meet together today. That thank you to our panelists. Thank you to those of you who are been watching and commenting. All of your comments and the fact that you like this video and that you subscribe really helps this channel. I don't do advertising. If you see advertising on the recording, those are put there, but I am not. I don't accept advertising. Thank you for the great. Oh, only 5 tabs open today now, Valerie. Underachiever. Nah, she's pretty smart cookie, that's for sure. Yeah, I love to hear the giggles. If we don't laugh at ourselves, we'd be so serious we'd miss the mark. Sometimes you just have to walk away and giggle. All right, nothing left to say, but I'm Dear Myrtle, your not so retired friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.